They sent a 22-year-old kid to my $2.3 billion client dinner. The chairman had flown 4,000 miles to see me personally. I'm going to say that again because I need you to understand exactly what happened. A 22-year-old intern in an ill-fitting suit, holding a printed PowerPoint deck, sitting at a table in Munich that I'd reserved for 14 years, waiting for a man who built a $4.8 billion industrial empire with his bare hands and his family name. A man who doesn't take meetings with strangers. A man who flew from Germany specifically to sit across from me, drink the same 2018 Spätburgunder we always drink, and shake my hand the way we've shaken hands 57 times before. Klaus Weber walked into that restaurant, looked around the room, and didn't see me. He was gone in 12 minutes. I'm telling you this from my home office in Detroit. Late evening. My phone sits on the desk next to a brass compass from my submarine days, USS Toledo, still pointing magnetic north after 26 years. I pick up the compass, feel the weight of it in my palm, then set it down and start from the beginning. My name is Garrett Hutchinson. I'm 46 years old, and for 19 years, I was the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Blackstone Industrial Holdings, a $12 and $8 billion Fortune 500 manufacturer headquartered right here in Detroit. I say was because the night Klaus called me from his Mercedes, voice cold and formal in that way. Only a German patriarch can be cold and formal. I already knew it was over. Not just my career, everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to tell you how we got here. How a relationship that took 14 years to build was destroyed in the time it takes to eat a bread roll, and how a 28-year-old with a Harvard MBA and 8 months on the job managed to wipe out $4.1 billion in European revenue because she thought trust was a process you could digitize. Let me start where it actually started. Not at Blackstone, but in the Navy. I enlisted in 1993 straight out of high school in Detroit. Didn't have a plan beyond getting out of the city and earning steady pay. My old man worked the line at Ford for 30 years. Good man, steady paycheck, but I wanted something different, something that required precision. The Navy sent me to nuclear engineering school, then to submarine duty on the USS Toledo. I was supposed to serve 4 years. I stayed 8. You learn things on a submarine. Precision matters. Every system has redundancies, but they only work if you maintain them properly. Relationships are the same way. You build trust slowly, maintain it carefully, and you never ever take shortcuts. During my second deployment, we participated in a NATO exchange program with the German Navy. That's where I met German naval engineers. That's where I learned that precision wasn't just an American military value. The Germans had their own version of it. Gründlichkeit, they called it thoroughness. Doing things right the first time, every time. I learned German the way submariners learn everything, by necessity. In port calls, in technical exchanges, in the kind of detailed engineering discussions where mistranslation could mean the difference between operational success and catastrophic failure. I learned to speak their language, but more importantly, I learned to think in their framework. I left the Navy in 2001, 28 years old, with nuclear engineering training, fluent German, and no clear idea what civilian life looked like. I spent 2 years figuring it out, working construction, then machining, then engineering support for the automotive plants. Detroit in 2003 wasn't exactly booming, but if you had skills and weren't afraid to work, you could make something happen. Blackstone hired me in 2003. They needed someone who could penetrate the German market, not someone who'd taken a Berlitz course, someone who understood how Germans actually do business. I was that someone. The Weber Maschinenbau account started in 2007, a cold introduction through the German-American Chamber of Commerce. Klaus Weber doesn't take cold calls. He doesn't take warm calls. He takes meetings with people who've been vouched for by people he already trusts, and even then, he'll sit across from you for 2 hours and say almost nothing while he decides whether you're worth his time. I got the meeting through Wolfgang Krause, a former German naval engineer I'd known since my Toledo days. He told Klaus there was an American at Blackstone who spoke real German and understood engineering principles. Klaus agreed to lunch. One lunch. I flew to Munich in March 2007, wore a dark suit, no tie, because I knew Klaus wouldn't be wearing one, didn't bring a presentation, didn't bring brochures. Brought myself, my German, and the understanding that in Klaus Weber's world, the first meeting isn't about business, it's about whether you're worth knowing. We talked for 3 hours about his grandfather who'd rebuilt the family machine shop after the war, about precision manufacturing in an era of planned obsolescence. About the difference between American business, where you pitch first and build trust later, and German Mittelstand business, where trust is the prerequisite and the contract just confirms what the handshake already established. By the end of that lunch, Klaus hadn't agreed to anything. He shook my hand and said, "Bis zum nächsten Quartal," until next quarter. So I came back next quarter. And the quarter after that, For 14 years, 57 visits, the contract grew from $180 million to $2,030 billion in dollars. It didn't grow because Blackstone had better pricing or faster delivery. It grew because Klaus trusted me. He trusted me because I showed up every quarter, same restaurant, same table, same wine, a 2018 Spätburgunder from Baden that Klaus prefers because his late father loved the vineyard. I remembered details. Klaus's son Martin was studying mechanical engineering at TUM Munich. His daughter Anna was learning violin. His wife Ingrid made the best Sauerbraten in Bavaria, at least according to Klaus. We hunted together in the Bavarian Alps 4 times. After the first hunt in 2009, he gave me a hand-carved wooden eagle about 4 inches tall, made from alpine pine. It sat on my desk at Blackstone for 12 years. My wife Sarah used to joke that I knew more about Klaus Weber's family than my own. She wasn't entirely wrong. The quarterly trips to Munich were draining on our marriage. Sarah was a teacher, German-American herself, understood the culture but not the constant travel. We divorced in 2015, not because of infidelity or incompatibility, because of absence. Sarah got sick in 2020, pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. I was with her at the end, but I'd missed too much of the middle. She died in December 2020, and the quarterly trips to Munich became something different after that. Memorial visits in a way. Every business dinner with Klaus included a stop at Frauenkirche, where Sarah and I had gotten engaged during a vacation in 1998. I'd light a candle and sit for 20 minutes in the silence she used to love. Our son Michael was 21 when Sarah died. He'd just started working as an automotive engineer for BMW in Munich. The kid spoke better German than I did, ironically. Sarah had made sure of that. After the funeral, Michael stayed in Munich, and my quarterly business trips became the only regular time we spent together. Father-son dinners at Augustener Brau, talking about German engineering standards and precision manufacturing. He understood why the Weber relationship mattered, not just for business, but for family. Here's what I want you to understand about those 14 years. It wasn't just a business relationship. Klaus Weber and I had built something that transcended contracts and purchase orders. When his wife Ingrid died in 2018, I flew to Munich for the funeral. When Michael graduated from TUM in 2019, Klaus sent a bottle of 1982 ice wine that had been aging in his personal cellar since before my son was born. When Sarah got sick, Klaus called me every week, not to talk business, but to check on a friend who was watching his wife die. That's what made what happened next so unforgivable. 6 months before the Munich dinner that changed everything, Rachel Blackstone walked through the door. 208 years old, Harvard MBA Kellogg Accelerated Program. Her international experience was a semester abroad in London and a consulting project for a tech startup in Austin. No German, no manufacturing background, no client-facing experience. She was Harold Blackstone's daughter, the CEO's only child, and she arrived with the title Chief Digital Transformation Officer, a white Tesla Model S parked in the executive lot, and a leather portfolio she carried everywhere but never seemed to write in. Her first week, she announced a comprehensive audit of all international partnerships. She used words like optimization, scalability, and systematic relationship management. She talked about AI-driven client communication and digital touchpoint mapping. She had charts showing how traditional relationship-based commerce was being disrupted by algorithmic efficiency protocols. The following Monday, she presented to Harold's executive committee. The presentation was called Eliminating Single Points of Failure in Global Relationship Management. My name was on every slide. I know because Patricia Coleman told me. Patricia, my executive assistant for 15 years, 56 years old, knew every detail of the Weber account. Klaus's flight preferences, his dietary restrictions, the name of the restaurant in Munich I always booked. She'd been coordinating with Weber Maschinenbau's administrative team for over a decade. She could read a room before the room knew it had something to read. Patricia pulled me aside at the coffee station on a Tuesday morning. Her hands were shaking slightly as she poured cream into her mug. "She's restructuring international partnerships," Patricia said. "Your accounts are being reassigned." I turned the brass compass on my desk, full rotation, north to north again. To whom digital relationship management systems, AI-driven client communication protocols. Patricia's expression didn't change. She used those exact words in the presentation. I sat back in my chair. Through my office window, I could see the Detroit River, gray and cold in the November morning. Somewhere across that water was Canada. Somewhere across the Atlantic was Munich, where Klaus Weber was probably reviewing engineering specifications over coffee, trusting that his American partner would show up next quarter like he had for 14 years. Did Harold say anything? He nodded a lot. Asked about implementation timelines. Patricia set her mug down carefully. Garrett, she doesn't understand what you've built with these people. 2 weeks later, Rachel called me into the conference room on the 4th floor. No windows, just gray carpet and a table that had seen better days. She sat across from me with the portfolio open and a pen she never uncapped. I need you to document your entire process for the Weber account, she said, reading from notes she'd written in precise handwriting. Communication frameworks, decision trees, scalable touchpoint methodologies. We're implementing a digital transformation of international client management. I looked at her. She was addressing the space 6 inches above my head, the way people do when they're delivering prepared remarks. There is no process, I said. There's a relationship, she made a note. The only time I ever saw her write anything during our conversations. Relationships don't scale, she said. Systems do. We need to move beyond personality-dependent client management toward data-driven engagement protocols. I thought about Klaus Weber's hand-carved eagle sitting on my desk. I thought about 57 quarterly dinners and hunting trips in the Bavarian Alps and a phone call when Sarah was dying. I thought about my son Michael, working for BMW because he'd grown up hearing stories about German precision and engineering excellence. Rachel, I said some things shouldn't scale. 3 weeks before the Munich dinner, Rachel formally reassigned me from the Weber account. She called it transitioning to a digitally optimized, scalable client engagement model. She said this in the same conference room, same flat voice, same portfolio open to pages that looked blank from where I sat. Who will attend the quarterly dinner? I asked. Andrew Pierce will represent the company. He's completed our new client relationship certification program. Andrew Pierce was a 22-year-old summer intern from Northwestern. Business major, 3.4 GPA, from what I'd heard around the office. Nice kid, probably, smart enough. But he'd never been to Germany, didn't speak German, had never met Klaus Weber or understood that in German business culture, sending a stranger to a relationship-based meeting isn't just rude, it's insulting. Klaus Weber flew from Germany for this dinner, I said. He's expecting me. Rachel didn't look up from her portfolio. Then this is an excellent opportunity for Andrew to establish a digitally integrated client touchpoint and transition the relationship to sustainable protocols. I felt something shift in my chest, like a pressure gauge moving into the red zone. 30 years of training told me to stay calm, assess the situation, look for emergency procedures. But this wasn't a reactor malfunction. This was deliberate sabotage. Rachel, Klaus Weber has been flying to Munich to meet with me personally for 14 years. He doesn't take meetings with strangers. He certainly doesn't take meetings with interns. Our analysis shows that personality-dependent relationships create unsustainable single points of failure, she said, reading from her notes. Digital transformation requires systematic client management that operates independently of individual employees. I looked at her for a long moment. 28 years old, never sold anything to anyone, never built a relationship that lasted longer than a college semester, about to destroy $2.3 billion in annual revenue because she thought trust was a software problem. Have you ever been to Germany? I asked. I spent a semester in London. That's not Germany. The principles of international business management are universal. I sat in my truck in the Blackstone parking garage for 40 minutes. Engine off, November rain hitting the windshield like small fists. The kind of gray Detroit afternoon that doesn't end, just continues into gray evening and gray night. I picked up my phone, scrolled to Edwin Chambers' number. Chambers, CEO of Patriot Industries, $8.4 billion defense contractor, former Navy commander who'd been trying to recruit me for 5 years. 2 submariners who'd compared notes about German engineering standards over bourbon at a NATO conference in 2019. I looked at his name on the screen, put the phone down, not yet. I drove home, sat on the back porch facing the Detroit River. An Augustiner Helles in my hand, the Munich lager I'd been drinking since my first NATO exchange in 1996. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of cargo ships moving through the darkness, carrying goods between countries where people still understood the value of keeping their word. I called Michael in Munich. It was 2 a.m. there, but he answered on the 3rd ring. BMW engineers work late. Dad, everything okay? I told him. The reassignment, the intern, the dinner that Klaus had already booked his flight for. Michael was quiet for a long time. She doesn't understand, he said finally, switching to German the way he always did when the conversation got serious. Das ist nicht nur Geschäft, das ist Familie. This isn't just business, this is family. He was right. Over 14 years, Klaus Weber had become something like family. Not in the American way, where family means people you love despite their flaws. In the German way, where family means people you honor because they've earned it. The Munich dinner happened on a Wednesday evening. I wasn't there. I was in Detroit, sitting at my kitchen table with a plate of pasta I wasn't eating, staring at the framed photo of Sarah and me at Oktoberfest 2010. Before the cancer, before the divorce, before everything went sideways. We were holding beer stains and laughing at something I couldn't remember, but would never forget. I knew what was happening 4,000 miles away. I knew it the way you know a reactor scram is coming before the alarm sound. You can see the indicators, the pressure readings, the cascade failure that's already inevitable. Andrew Pierce arrived at the Rathskeller München at 70 p.m. Central European Time. I know because Patricia texted me the car service confirmation. She'd arranged the logistics even though she'd been told the account was digitally transformed. 15 years of habits don't die easily. Andrew was wearing a navy suit that bunched at the shoulders. He had a printed PowerPoint deck in a clear plastic sleeve, 47 slides about strategic partnership, optimization, and systematic relationship enhancement. He did not speak German. He did not know that Klaus Weber always arrives at exactly 7:30 p.m. because punctuality in Germany isn't courtesy. It's moral structure. He did not know that the Spätburgunder should already be breathing when Klaus walks in. That the first 20 minutes are never about business, that you ask about the family before you mention revenue or contracts or anything that sounds like selling. Andrew knew none of this because nobody told him. Patricia tried. She'd prepared a 3-page briefing on Weber protocol, cultural considerations, the fact that Klaus conducts all Blackstone business in German. Rachel's response was 4 words, covered in the training. There was no training, just a PowerPoint deck about digital touchpoints and scalable relationship management. Klaus Weber walked into the private dining room at 7:30 p.m. exactly. Silver hair, charcoal suit, no tie. He scanned the room for me the way he always does, quick assessment recognition approach. That's the protocol. 14 years of the same protocol. He didn't see me. He saw Andrew Pierce, 22 years old, standing next to a table with an unopened bottle of wine and a plastic-sleeved presentation about optimizing strategic partnerships. Klaus asked in German, "Wo ist Hutchinson?" Where is Hutchinson? Andrew didn't understand. He extended his hand with the confidence of someone who'd never failed at anything important because he'd never tried anything important. Mr. Weber, I'm Andrew Pierce from Blackstone's digital transformation team. I'm excited to present our new systematic approach to international partnership management. Klaus did not take his hand. He asked again. In English this time, his voice quieter but somehow more commanding. Where is Garrett? Andrew explained that the account had been digitally optimized, that he was the new strategic relationship specialist, that Blackstone was transitioning to scalable client engagement protocols that would enhance efficiency and reduce personality-dependent variables in their international business development framework. He actually said those words, personality-dependent variables. Klaus stood very still for what Andrew later described as the longest 15 seconds of my life. Then he buttoned his jacket, said Entschuldigung, and walked out of the Rathskeller München. Total time from arrival to departure, 12 minutes. 40 minutes after Klaus left the restaurant, my phone rang. The screen said Weber K, the contact I'd saved 14 years ago and never changed. I picked up on the first ring. Garrett, his voice was controlled, formal, not the way Americans get angry, loud, hot, explosive, the way a German patriarch gets angry. Cold, measured, final. We spoke in German, the way we always spoke when the conversation mattered. Ich habe Blackstone 14 Jahre lang vertraut, he said. I gave Blackstone 14 years of trust. Heute Abend haben sie mir ein Kind geschickt. Tonight, they sent me a child. I waited. Das ist keine Geschäftsentscheidung. Das ist Verachtung. This is not a business decision. This is contempt. I didn't defend Blackstone. I didn't apologize for them. I didn't explain Rachel or digital transformation or AI-driven client protocols. Klaus, I wasn't informed. Ich weiß. Das ist genau das Problem. I know. That is exactly the problem. He told me he was instructing his procurement team to terminate the Blackstone contract at the next renewal period. $2.3 billion gone. Not because of pricing, not because of product quality, not because a competitor offered better terms, because a 63-year-old man who built a $4.8 billion empire on handshakes and family honor walked into a room expecting to see a friend and found a stranger with a PowerPoint deck. Then Klaus said something I'll never forget. Wenn Sie entscheiden, wo Sie hingehen, rufen Sie mich an. Ich werde da sein. When you decide where you're going, call me. I will be there. The line went quiet. He hung up the way he ends every call. No goodbye, just silence, then the click. 14 years, and he's never once said goodbye on the phone. I sat in my office. The wooden eagle was on my desk next to the brass compass. I picked up the eagle, ran my thumb over the grain, alpine pine, hand-carved by Klaus's uncle in 1987. a symbol of American-German partnership that had just become a memorial to what used to be. My phone buzzed. Patricia. She'd forwarded an internal Slack message. Rachel Blackstone to Harold's executive team sent 35 minutes earlier while Klaus was driving away from the Ratskeller, while Andrew was standing alone in a private dining room with unopened wine and a presentation nobody would ever see. The message read, Weber dinner executed successfully. New client engagement protocols implemented. Time to move beyond personality-dependent relationships. Digital transformation requires systematic approach to international partnerships. I rate it twice. Executed successfully. While $3 billion in annual revenue was driving away in a Mercedes on the Maximilianstrasse. I deleted the screenshot. Then I picked up my phone and called Edwin Chambers. Chambers answered on the second ring, 9:30 p.m. Detroit time. I could hear ice settling in a glass. Garrett. What happened? I told him. The reassignment, the intern, the dinner, Klaus leaving after 12 minutes, the phone call from the Mercedes. Chambers was quiet for a long time. The ice clinked once. I've been telling you for 5 years, he said. You are the Weber account. The account doesn't exist without you. Walk away and $223 billion walks with you. He didn't wait for me to answer. I have an offer ready. President of European Operations. $18 million compensation package. Based wherever you want. Munich, Frankfurt, Stuttgart. Say the word. I need 48 hours. You have 24. When this story gets out, and it will, every defense contractor in the country is going to be calling you. I hung up, sat on the back porch in the November cold, no jacket, just the Detroit air and the dark outline of the Renaissance Center across the river. I didn't need 48 hours. I didn't need 24. I'd needed about 12 seconds. The 12 seconds between Klaus leaving the Ratskeller and my phone ringing. I signed the Patriot Industries contract on a Friday morning in Philadelphia. Corner office overlooking the Delaware River. The contract was 14 pages. President of European Operations, $18 million compensation, based in Munich. Munich. Where Klaus Weber was waiting, where my son Michael worked for BMW, where Sarah and I had gotten engaged 25 years ago in the shadow of the Frauenkirche. I called Klaus from my new office that afternoon. One sentence in German. Ich bin jetzt bei Patriot Industries. I'm with Patriot Industries now. 3 seconds of silence. Then Klaus's voice, warm for the first time since he'd left the Ratskeller. Gut, sehr gut. Good. Very good. We talked the following Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that. Within 90 days, Weber Maschinenbau formally transferred its entire $2.3 billion procurement contract from Blackstone Industrial Holdings to Patriot Industries. The paperwork was signed in Munich at the Ratskeller, at the same table in the same private dining room, with the same 218 Spatburgunder breathing on white linen. Klaus shook my hand. Then he turned to Edwin Chambers, who'd flown in for the signing, and said in English, In my country, we say Vertrauen kommt zu Fuß und geht zu Pferde. Trust comes on foot and leaves on horseback. He paused. Blackstone sent a boy with a bicycle. Then the cascade began. It wasn't orchestrated. It didn't need to be. The European industrial supply chain is smaller than Americans think, and news travels through relationships. Within 120 days, 6 additional German suppliers terminated their Blackstone contracts. Companies whose executives I'd known for a decade. Men I'd sat with at Hannover Messe, shared beers with at Oktoberfest, discussed precision manufacturing standards with over wild boar dinners in Bavarian hunting lodges. Total European revenue lost, $4.1 billion, 38% of Blackstone's global business. Gone in the time it takes a digital transformation to fail. The destruction unfolded like a controlled demolition week by week, contract by contract, relationship by relationship. Month 4, Blackstone stock fell 42%. 2 credit rating downgrades. Month 6, plant closures announced. Toledo, Ohio. Gary, Indiana. 6,800 American manufacturing jobs. Congressional inquiry initiated within 48 hours. Month 8, Rachel Blackstone terminated. Security escorted her through the lobby with a cardboard box. The leather portfolio was in it. Month 10, Harold Blackstone resigned. SEC investigation announced. Stock delisted pending federal review. Meanwhile, Patriot Industries posted record quarterly earnings. The business press connected the dots immediately. The Wall Street Journal ran a front-page story, how one executive's departure shifted $4.1 billion in defense contracts. They quoted an unnamed German procurement executive. Americans misunderstand our business culture. We don't buy from companies, we buy from people. Harold Blackstone called me one last time. I was in my Munich office, 3rd floor overlooking the Maximilianstrasse. The wooden eagle sat on my desk next to a photo of Sarah and Michael from 2019. both of them laughing at something I can't remember but will never forget. Harold's voice was measured, careful. He didn't apologize, he wasn't built for it, and I didn't need it. Is there any way to repair the Weber relationship? Any meeting I could take, any gesture. I was quiet for 5 seconds. I could hear him breathing. Harold, that relationship was never yours. I took it with me. He didn't respond. The line was quiet for a long time. Then he hung up. No goodbye, just silence, then the click. 6 months later, Michael visited me in Munich for Christmas. He's 27 now, senior automotive engineer for BMW's electric vehicle division. We sat in my apartment overlooking the city, eating Stollen and talking about precision engineering standards and German manufacturing. You did the right thing, Dad, he said in that mixture of German and English he uses when the conversation matters. I looked at the wooden eagle on the mantelpiece, next to Sarah's photo from that last good Christmas we spent together. Sometimes the right thing is the only thing left to do. Michael nodded. He understood. At 27, working for a German company that values relationships over processes, he understood what his old man had learned in 14 years of quarterly dinners and handshake agreements and the kind of trust that comes on foot and leaves on horseback. The brass compass still points north. The wooden eagle still catches the afternoon light through my Munich office window. And every quarter, Klaus Weber and I sit at the same table, drink the same wine, and talk about precision manufacturing in an age of digital disruption. Some things can't be optimized, some things shouldn't be. Trust is one of them. If you've ever watched someone destroy something they didn't build, you know that feeling in your chest when years of work disappear in minutes. Maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was a business, maybe it was something you spent decades creating and someone else decided to optimize. The tools change. They call it digital transformation now, or AI-driven efficiency, or systematic scalability, but the arrogance is always the same. People who've never built anything telling people who have that they're doing it wrong. Here's what I learned. When they come for what you've built, don't fight the system. Take what's yours and walk away. The people who matter will follow you. The ones who don't, won't. And sometimes the best revenge is just being right.